hold up, wait. I'm gonna paint this motherboard.
Say what?
And not only are we painting the board, we are also going to paint the RAM sticks and the heatsink to see if it'll still work afterwards.
Oh my God!
Now, usually I'm not a huge fan of sacrificing my PC parts, but this is for science. I can't believe I'm actually gonna do this. So the motherboard is not something that you usually mess with when it comes to your computer. Generally what happens is you pick one out, you put it in your system, and that's where it ends. But that's not good enough for me today. Today, we're gonna paint it. And we're gonna paint the RAM, and we're gonna paint the heatsink. And it's gonna be weird. Now, I have seen videos where people paint the shrouding on their motherboard to match their build, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody just go full crazy and paint everything. So while I would love to just drop this thing in a bucket of paint, we can't do that. We do have to mask off some things. The DIMM slots, the power connections, the PCIEs, all those things do need to get masked off in order to make it so that it has a possibility of functioning at the end. So in other videos of people painting motherboards, I have seen people use Plasti Dip. Now, because I don't want to do exactly what somebody else does, I am going to use a different paint. We're going to use this Rust-Oleum high heat paint, and that's because parts of a motherboard get hot, and parts of your RAM get hot, the heatsink gets hot, and I wanted something that was gonna stand up to that heat as much as possible so that we could most likely get a win out of this motherboard being functional at the end. Resist heat up to 1,200 degrees? That can't be real. Now, before I go ahead and take this board outside to paint it, I do need to plug it up and make sure that it works, because I've never personally seen this motherboard in action, so I need to know that it is functional before I go ahead and paint it, because if at the end of this whole process it doesn't work, I'm going to wonder forever if it was because we failed and ruined it with spray paint, or if it just never worked to begin with.
12 seconds later.
So we are getting an image from our sacrificed motherboard. So now it's time to go ahead and start masking the pieces on this motherboard that we are going to need to protect. So now that I've taken out the RAM and the CPU cooler, I will detach this fan from this heatsink so that I can spray paint the heatsink. The only part I'm not going to spray paint is the copper area there, so it can still cool the processor. I do have to mask off all of the important components on here to make sure that the motherboard will still work, or at least has its best chance of working. And let's just get into that now, because look, this is a big board. It's gonna take a little bit. So our motherboard is ready for paint. I used as little masking tape as I possibly could on this board so that we can slam as much spray paint onto here as humanly possible so we get that nice all white look. I did go ahead and tape up the RAM and the CPU heatsink as well, so everything is ready for paint. But let me know in the comment section down below, if this thing works, do you want to see me throw it in a build? I would love to hear your thoughts on that, because maybe we can do that. But again, that's if it works. So let's go downstairs and let's paint this thing. So I gotta be honest, this thing looks like it's ready for winter warfare. This is pretty cool. I mean, I gotta say, it turned out better than I thought it was going to be. It only took 3 coats of spray paint to get the full coverage on this thing, and it was super easy and dried like instantly. So this was a relatively easy process. I just don't know if it's going to work. Now, we did spray paint the heatsink. It doesn't really look like it did anything, you know, that it doesn't matter, but you know, coating it with that paint, we will see if it has any effect to it. Now, we are going to run Prime 95 for about an hour just to see if anything happens, because I want to stress test it a little bit, work up some thermals on this board to see if this will actually hold up or if it's just gonna, you know, catch fire. This is probably the dumbest thing that I've ever done to a computer. All right, so you're gonna have to excuse the mess because I know that this looks a little insane. It's just sitting out here, but regardless, it's all plugged up and ready to go. Let's see if this thing will turn on. Oh, we had something. Oh. Post. All right, so apparently everything is working. I don't know how well. Once we start stress testing it, that'll really tell us what we're in for. But so far, everything's looking pretty good. So see ya in Prime 95. All right, so here's the deal.
No, God!
I went ahead and I started running Prime 95, and in about 15 minutes, the CPU temperature shot up to 97 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely terrible. So I shut the program down, let the CPU cool down a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna change the stock Intel cooler, which stock Intel coolers are terrible anyways, but we're gonna change that cooler out for an aftermarket cooler because I definitely wanna get the 1 hour test done with this motherboard because it's the whole purpose of the video. We've got to finish it. All right, so I went ahead and put a much larger heatsink in here. I opened up core temp. We're sitting at 25 degrees Celsius at idle. That's way better than the stock cooler was doing. Let's go ahead and turn Prime 95 back on and see if we can hit 1 hour of stress testing on this motherboard.
1 hour later.
So Prime 95 has been running for over an hour now, and there are 0 issues. There have been no problems. The temperatures for everything, and I've been monitoring everything with MSI Afterburner, everything's been fine. Everything is running perfectly. Now, one thing I was concerned of is thinking maybe the paint would bubble up on the RAM or somewhere on the motherboard, but it hasn't. There has been no issues. So you can do this. I didn't think that you could, I mean, I knew you could paint parts of a motherboard. I didn't think you could go to these extremes and it still functioned properly. Mission success, we did it. It's possible. Go ahead, go paint your motherboards. Now I know I told you earlier to comment if you want me to put this inside of a build, and I am comfortable doing that, but before I would put this in another build, I do want to run one more experiment. So next week, I'm gonna put liquid electrical tape, this stuff right here, all over this entire board. See what happens. Now, I hope you guys had a little bit of fun with me. I had an absolute blast doing this video for you guys. And if this is the kind of content you guys like to see, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It helps the channel out so much. And I will see you in the next video where we cover this thing in liquid electrical tape. But until then, no matter where you are in the world, I hope you're having a fantastic day. And I will see you in the next video.